Hello and welcome to the 144th episode of Be My Guest, the live show dedicated to the automotive and new mobility world. I am Stéphanie Cancel and we are live on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Today we are going to talk about battery safety and see how to prevent your car and even your house to burn down because of a lithium battery failure. Last year, 4.2 million electric vehicles were sold globally, and that number will keep accelerating to meet environmental requirements. However, EVs are not 100% safe, and as a matter of fact, battery safety is the biggest challenge the EV industry has to face today. Indeed, electric vehicle fires happen, sometimes out of nowhere, and they are a nightmare for firemen since they are very difficult to extinguish and can even restart. To detect EV battery fire, the California-based startup Serinus Labs has developed a revolutionary early warning sensor technology for lithium batteries. I am very happy to welcome today in Be My Guest, Hossain Fahad, founder and CEO of Serinus Labs. Hello, Hossain. Thank you for coming into the show. Hossain, first of all, when was Serinus Labs founded?
Yeah. Hi, Stephanie. Thank you for having me on the show. So Serinus Labs was founded in name in 2017, but officially we started operating in 2018. So 2017 is when we really started. Yeah.
So how did you come to develop your technology, your sensors, your EV battery sensors? Is it a bad experience of yours?
Yeah, so I wouldn't necessarily say it was a bad experience. It actually came about a conversation with a couple of colleagues who were in the automotive space, and at the time we were actually trying to develop sensors for hydrogen fuel cell vehicles, and there was a very very quick question that, hey, the industry is changing to EVs. You know, we're not going to be using any more gas sensors because everything is going electric. Then the question popped up: is there a need for gas sensors in electric vehicles, and if so, where? And that's how it came about. We started looking into this phenomenon of trace gas venting from battery cells in EVs. And then it kind of snowballed, and we are here today addressing a very critical that we think it's going to become very big in the next few years. Yeah.
So yes, there is a need, and because we hear, not every day, but we hear very often on the news about cars that catch fire, and even micromobility that catch fire, and it can be very dramatic. I have some examples here. This is Hyundai in South Korea, Tesla in the United States, Chevy Bolt. 50,000 Chevys were called back because of a battery failure. That was Rimac Concept One with the Top Gear presenter. And that was a cargo in the Atlantic Ocean carrying 3,965 luxury cars, including Porsche, Lamborghini, etc., and Bentleys. And quite recently in Paris, an electric bus caught fire early this month. And when it happens, Hossain, it can be very dramatic. And it's, as I was saying in the introduction, it's very difficult to stop it.
Yes. So battery fires, it's there is always this argument that battery fires are not as dangerous as traditional internal combustion engines. It's true. I mean, the battery fires are rare, but the severity with which a fire propagates inside an EV, or for that matter, any other storage format, is so intense that it takes firefighters and responders hours. I had a conversation with a colleague of mine, and he mentioned to me an interesting fact. The fire that lithium-ion battery burns causes is so catastrophic that it can burn or melt asphalt, right? That is pretty much, you're talking about burning roads right now. So battery fires is a significant problem.
Excuse me, as a non-technical person, why is a battery fire so intense compared to a normal fire?
It's basically the lithium, right? It is pyrophoric, so it basically catches fire. It keeps reigniting, catches fire, keeps reigniting. I guess the closest analogy for that would be if have you watched the show Chernobyl on HBO?
Yes, yes.
So they talk about how they have to keep putting it out, right? It doesn't really extinguish, and so it's basically lithium. Lithium is the one that basically kind of it's pyrophoric. It keeps reigniting itself, and the fact that inside a pack we're talking about thousands or hundreds of cells, depending on which form factor you have, that tends to cascade, pop one after the other, right? And it really takes a long time to put it out. Yeah.
And what causes a battery to catch fire? Is it do we need an accident for it to happen, or can it just catch fire when it's charging, for instance?
Okay, so accident, definitely. I mean, accident can have a lot of there's a lot of ways a battery. Well, there are several ways battery can catch fire. A lithium-ion battery can catch fire. Accident definitely is one where direct impact can induce some sort of mechanical damage, at which point there's instantaneous fires. But then there could be also delayed fires where the battery pack seems to be intact, but perhaps it hasn't completely pierced the cells that are inside the battery pack, and it's just slightly off-gassing, venting, and it catches fire after a couple of minutes or even after a couple of hours when the wreck has been moved away. From a technical standpoint, the triggers that usually lead to battery fires are things like overcharging, overheating, when batteries are not managed during day-to-day operation, not managed properly during day-to-day operation, or when the BMS has failed, it's because of one reason or the other, or the cooling has failed. And accidents, direct mechanical impact, definitely for sure, is the other mechanism through which batteries can fail. Yeah.
So when a car catches fire at your house, is it because it had an accident before?
That is a very good question. To be honest, it is not very clear, and each case is very specific, has its own specific set of conditions that govern it. So, for example, the thing about lithium-ion battery packs in cars today is that, well, EVs in general today, they're not. When you turn an EV off, it is not really off. The batteries inside the EV battery pack, they're continuously monitored, their state of health, their state of safety, right? If there's too cold, they're conditioned, they're warmed up so that they're always in the right operating temperature. Or if there's too warm, then there is cooling that's going on. If any of those things fail, right, then it can lead to a catastrophic failure, potentially lead to a catastrophic failure. Luckily, today's BMS, the battery management systems that are on board, they're pretty good. Another issue is, for example, when you have the battery pack connected to a charger, when your EV is charging and you're sleeping at home overnight, things like how they're charging and the charging infrastructure, and whether the BMS actually catches any sort of incidents of overcharging. These are things that if they're not monitored correctly, right, they basically can lead to catastrophic failure. So what I'm getting to is that battery monitoring requires absolute perfection, right? There's very little compromise you can take.
Because as you were mentioning, usually when you own an electric vehicle, you charge it while you're sleeping. So when you detect there is a fire, it's already too late. Yes. So you have developed those sensors that detect early battery fires. but
Yes.
there are already there exist already some sensors in the batteries. But what's
Yes.
the problem with them?
Yes. So today's battery packs, the two dominant forms of physical sensors that are there to monitor state of health and, let's say, state of safety, things like temperature and voltage sensors. They they are the golden standard. There's no two ways about it. But because of emerging regulations and requirements that are popping up globally, especially China, they want even more advanced early warning or warning capabilities.
Because because these sensors detect a few seconds before the fire.
Yeah.
Now the new standards are 5 minutes before.
Yeah,
right?
At least 5 minutes before.
At least 5 minutes.
5 minutes before. These things, they can. That is one of the reasons why there's a need for these advanced systems. And the other reason is voltage sensors and temperature sensors. Temperatures pretty much, unless you are contacting each and every sensor or cell inside the battery pack, it is very difficult to monitor, the total temperature profile of all the cells. And voltage sensors, they can get smeared out. Their functionality can get smeared out if you're just monitoring voltage, especially when you have a parallel series configuration of cells inside a battery pack. So that's why what we're saying is we're developing this additional layer of battery health monitoring or battery safety monitoring that augments on what is already there by providing a very robust signal when something is about to go wrong or has gone wrong. And that is by measuring trace levels of battery vented gases.
So your technology, your sensors can, they set off an alarm 20 minutes before a fire, right?
Yes. Yeah, so 20 minutes is more of a very precise number that we've gotten with some of our tests with customers. We have seen in the range of as small as or as short as about 12 minutes and as large as about 25 minutes. So really, in cases of things like our solution really provides a value when the trigger mechanisms are things like your cells are overheating. Or your cells are being overcharged, right? That's when you get these sort of like 20 minute plus early warnings with our sensor technology.
So what can be done in 20 minutes? Well, you just plug off the battery, or what can you do? Is it already too late? 20 minutes? Are the cells already damaged or not yet?
Yeah, so that is a very good question. So with the test that we have done internally, what we have actually proven is that, we have found is that when you're just detecting the trace levels of gases that are vented on, and your battery hasn't basically gone into catastrophic failure. It hasn't ignited yet. It has lost a little bit of integrity, and if you basically isolate that particular cell or group of cells from the rest of the pack, electrically or mechanically, then you have a chance of preventing thermal runaway, which is the catastrophic failure. Yeah.
How do you isolate the cell? Well, I'm talking about me.
Yes.
For instance,
Yes.
I don't, but I have an EV. I'm sleeping, the alarm goes off, and it means my cells are damaged. The cells of my battery are damaged. What can I do? Do I have to call the fireman, or can I do something personally?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. So today, most of the things, luckily for all of us, is handled by the battery management system that is on board inside the EV battery packs. So what our sensors does is provide a new flag or a new signal to the battery management system that something is going wrong. And they basically can induce actuation mechanisms, basically a relay, or think about it, a physical switch, basically, that disconnects. You don't have to do anything from your end. But what it can enable with this sense of, with this form of, sensor battery health monitoring is, it can enable a new form of check engine light that just pops up on your dash, or an alert on your smartphone, right? Today's interconnected EVs, right? there's a lot of connectivity and there's a lot of ability to basically take user-based or create user-based actions, right? So, for example, if your vehicle is parked and there's something inside your house and you're at the house, then of course the electronics on board will take care of everything. But if you're nearby, they can basically also alert you and say, hey, maybe perhaps get away from the vehicle or from the house. There's something going on. So these are the kind of actions that can be enabled with these things.
Are there different degrees of alarm? For instance, it gets more and louder because the danger is bigger and bigger.
That is a very interesting concept. Yes, that is definitely possible to do, but for us, we cannot take ownership of that. That is basically the ownership of basically determining to what degree an alarm happens or when the alarm happens. It's actually set by the OEM. So they are the decision makers when they decide when the alarm has to be set off.
OEM, that means original
the manufacturer,
equipment manufacturer.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah, the EV manufacturer.
When the alarm goes off 20 minutes before the battery catches fire, that means that a cell is damaged. Is it reversible? Does it alter the performance of the battery?
So we are still investigating this. This is still a very interesting query. Up to this point, we have been basically addressing the problem of preventing thermal runaway. So basically, isolating or identifying the cell that has gone into or is going into failure, and isolating it from the rest of the pack. Whether it's reversible or not is something that we're still currently investigating. And I do believe with trace gas venting, at least in the literature out there, this information is not readily available yet. We are going to be basically, releasing some information about these things and about the capabilities of what we can do with trace gas venting, whether it is reversible, whether the cell can be recovered or not, later on this year via some scientific publications. But from what we understand right now, at least at this stage, the cells are not recoverable. I mean, they are basically damaged. You wouldn't want to operate those cells, but they haven't caught fire. Let me put it that way.
But you can change just one cell, or it's not possible?
So that again would fall on the OEM, the automaker, whoever is making the EVs, whether they want to give that level of maintenance. But generally, I think the idea would be today's EV battery packs. They're basically configured. There are thousands of cells. They're configured into these shoebox-sized groups called modules. So if there is a single cell that has failed, I think it is, at least from my perspective, it makes sense to replace the module, or the OEM would want to replace the module because you don't know what has happened to the adjacent cells inside. Yes, that's the picture that I'm talking about. So if you look at one of those rectangular modules, there's a bunch of cells inside each module. Now, if a particular cell has damaged or is going to damage, I would suspect the automaker would rather want to replace the module because whatever is happening with the failing cell, there must be some effect to adjacent cells. And they would either replace that particular module or recondition it. So that I don't think replacing a single cell may be the best approach. But again, this decision is only done by the automaker from their end, really.
Okay, from a technical point of view, how does your technology work? So your technology is called lichens. Yes. And so how does it work? I'm going to show some drawings, and if you could explain them.
Yeah, absolutely. So this drawing is more of a schematic that I wanted to bring up here. But so lichens actually stands for lithium-ion cell analyte nanosensor. So the name is actually a play on for lichens. So it's a mythical werewolf that has a heightened sense of smell. And lichens basically is the product name for this particular technology as applied to battery safety. The technology that we use is actually proprietary technology that was developed at UC Berkeley. I was one of the lead inventors, and it's really a platform sensor technology. And this, without going into too much details, these sensors are very similar in their operation to something called the electronic transistor. If you're not familiar with the transistor, so there are these switches that are there in everyday electronics, like cell phones, laptops, that turn on and off a billion times per second to deliver useful function. So that's how they operate. There's a target gas, and then that particular gas interacts with a portion of the sensor, and that basically changes the current that's flowing in the sensor or flowing in the transistor, and that's how we get detection done. And some of these changes, they can happen at very low power or at room temperatures, enabling very low power operation. Yeah.
Okay. And so when there is a danger, there is a gas coming out, and this is what it looks like?
Oh, yeah. So this is actually at the late stage. This is when the battery is about to
It's
fail.
too late.
It's already too late.
Okay.
We have detected. So in this particular test, this is a 2170 cell, and we basically detected a signature or an early warning, I think about 18 minutes, 16 to 18 minutes prior to this point. And at that point, there was no, this kind of a very vigorous venting. I don't know if you can play the clip, but it's very, very dramatic. Yeah.
Well,
but yeah, it's already too late. Yeah, it's already too late. Yeah.
Okay, so well, we can understand how your technology is important because it avoids total vehicle loss, actually.
Yes.
And I guess this must interest insurance companies because the battery represents almost half of the price of a car.
Yeah, from what I understand, based on my conversations with, and of course reading all the articles, it's almost 30%, somewhere between 25 to 35% of the total vehicle. That's the cost of the battery pack. So that's significant if you really think about it, right? Like, you really the one asset other than the human life that you really want to protect, that is. It's the battery pack, right?
And we're just talking about the car, but not even talking about the house, not even mentioning the house.
Yeah. So that has its own. So that would be an interesting thing, how insurance companies view EVs moving forward. I don't think that it's that big of a problem, or the insurance company view it as still a big problem yet. But the number of EVs today on the road are really not that much. It's growing, but it's not that much. The market share is what, like 2% of the total automotive market, right? Time will tell, especially as there's a lot of factors at play here. Consumers are wanting faster charging or long range, vehicles, right? The demand for high energy density fast charging, because what it will do to the safety of vehicles, only time will tell, right? So. Yeah.
So yes, talking about fast charging, are fast charging stations a danger for the battery? Is it? Are you more likely to get a battery fire when you use a fast charging station?
I should think so, but luckily the electronics are very good, if not excellent, to basically maintain it. But let me talk to kind of put it very succinctly. Fast charging is a form of abuse. You are actually degrading the battery as you fast charge. In fact, I think you can only fast charge your vehicles once every couple of times. I don't know what the frequency. It really depends on the automaker. But we have had discussions with customers and OEMs and tier ones where they've actually seen trace gas venting during fast charging events. So what that means is you're already degrading the battery, right? And at some point you could potentially push it to catastrophic failure if you're not careful. So I think there is an inherent upper limit, safety limit today in what you can do when it comes to fast charging. Yeah.
Are owners of electric cars aware that charging at a fast charging station too often is a potential danger for the battery?
Yes.
Are they told so? Because I didn't know it.
I don't think they're told that way. I may be wrong, but I think they are limited on the control panel. They say that you're not able to basically. So I think it is limited right now. So what we are effectively doing with these sort of new forms of battery health monitoring or battery safety sensors is we're allowing or perhaps enabling the automaker to increase those upper limits of performance, right? To be honest, nobody wants to stay in a supercharger for 30 minutes. I don't want to stay in a supercharger or whatever fast charging location it is for 30 minutes. It's okay for some people, but we are used to this. We should design. My philosophy is that we should design technology around human comfort and convenience, right? Not the other way around. So really, when you're trying to then talk about fast charging, then you have to be you really have to take safety into consideration. So going back to your point, fast charging definitely is a form of abuse, and there is safety risks associated with it.
Are there some risks associated to battery storage? Well, I know some. I think it's in China. Some car makers are working on swappable battery systems. So that means you don't have to charge; you just change the battery pack, but you have to store those battery packs. So is it dangerous to store battery packs?
Yeah, so that's a very, very, very good question. And swappable battery systems, I think they're interesting. And okay, that's a bit of a digression. But to your question, there's always a danger when you're storing large, packs, high energy density packs in one location. It could be a warehouse, it could be a utilities plant, and these battery packs that you're talking about, that's in swappable batteries, they are not fresh batteries, right? They're not fresh or just off the line batteries. They have seen some action, right? They have gone through some degradation cycles. So their state of health, their state of safety absolutely needs to be monitored before they can be, or basically understood before they can be reinstalled into another vehicle. Whether this is now going on a tangent here, whether this swappable battery, application is will be universally applicable, that's a complete whole other argument. This whole other conversation there. Yeah.
What about recycled batteries? A lot because of circular industry environments. The industry is working on the recycled batteries. Are they more prone to catch fire?
So right now, I don't have enough statistics. I don't think that this is a very interesting question, but I don't have enough statistics to say that they're more prone. But I would assume so, primarily because of the fact that they have, as I mentioned, in the case of the swappable batteries, they have seen some action. They have gone through degradation cycles. They are probably reaching their end of life or have reached their end of life, and they're being repurposed one form or the other. So really, when they're definitely, I would assume that they would definitely be more prone to catastrophic failures if they're not serviced or conditioned properly. But without proper statistics right now, I don't think I have a good source to cite those statistics also, whether they're more prone than, say, fresh batteries.
So if we take recycled batteries, can your technology be applied to them? Can we put sensors on a used battery, or does it have to be built in the car? Does it have to be part of the design?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So the way we are addressing the market or addressing the battery safety monitoring today is, we're targeting EVs, we're targeting automotive customers. So sensors cannot be retrofit after the fact, after the battery pack has been assembled. So whatever we develop right now has to be in the design process of a battery pack that's going to come out like 5 or 6 years down the road, not before. Now, for second life battery packs, the repurposed battery packs, unless they're reusing the entire system that is part of the battery pack from, for example, say EVs, for say stationary power sources, then the answer is yes. We can basically retrofit our sensors where, in the case where, for example, individual cells from an old battery pack inside an EV have been pulled apart and they've been assembled in a new subframe or frame. And that's where we basically retrofit our sensors in. That assumes that a new battery management system will also be going in. So yes, for the cases of second life batteries, for repurposed batteries, potentially, but for EVs, no. It has to be part of the design process early on. It cannot be a retrofit solution.
You're talking a lot about the automotive world. Does your technology apply to micromobility as well, to scooters, to electric bikes, for instance?
Yeah. So definitely, it definitely applies there. It is something that we are aggressively pursuing right now. Actually, we are targeting. I mean, you have seen there's a significant rise of e-scooters, right? In Paris, in San Francisco, it's one of the most, I guess, convenient forms of movement right now. That being said, there have been quite a few incidents of catastrophic fires just from these things. Outside it's not a problem, but it's the fact it's a problem when you bring this inside a building, right?
A flat,
and and you're charging it. I had the other day I was in a lab inside a clean room, and somebody had actually brought in an e-scooter, and he was charging it right next to a couple of high pressure gas cylinders. Because of it was not intentional. It was just because the outlet was there, and I was thinking to myself, if that was if there ever was a situation that could cause a catastrophic failure or catastrophic event, this would be it. And I thought that so sorry, that was a bit of a digression, but yes, absolutely. Micromobility is a requirement for us right now. It is a market that we want to address very heavily. And especially because of the fact that some micromobility manufacturers tend to cut corners in terms of cost. They tend to use lower grade batteries. And if those batteries, they're not monitored for safety or whatever it is properly, then it's basically a delayed, for lack of a better word, time bomb, right? It has really explosive powers when they catch fire. Yeah.
A couple of days ago, you were in Paris at the Automobile Club de France, and you were a finalist of the Grand Prix ACF Autotech, and you won the Grand Prix ACF, le Grand Prix Pionnier ACF. And congratulations again for that.
Thank you.
And I'd like to know what will that award change in your life, in the life of Serinus Labs?
Yeah. So first of all, it was a great honor to be crowned winner there. So my intent and our intent with the ACF was basically to break into the French automotive scene. Up to this point, we have had no contact with any of the major automotive players in the French automotive industry.
They were present.
Yeah, and it was the right platform. I remember when I came across this opportunity, I was, it was like 2 hours before deadline or something, and I was like, let's go ahead and we've spoken to German OEMs, we've gotten in front of them, we've spoken to, of course, definitely the US EV space and OEMs there, but the one country's OEMs that we haven't really approached was France. And
in the jury, there was Plastic Omnium, there was Forvia, major OEMs. And there was Renault as well, so a major automotive manufacturer, and even Christian Peugeot and Thierry Peugeot from the Peugeot family. So it was a great jury for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So our goal is basically out of this, we also want to first of all understand if the French automotive industry views this as the same as a problem as well, battery safety. And based on the conversations that I've already had with them, yes, it is definitely a problem. It's a global problem. And the one thing that we are aggressively moving forward on right now is to identify partnerships or joint development agreements, whatever it is, to basically understand how we could basically provide a targeted solution right now. Because at the end of the day, Serinus Labs is actually a gas sensing manufacturing company. It develops low-powered phase gas sensors. But we are very focused on this battery safety market right now. We want to develop a very targeted product, a very focused product for this particular application, which I believe we are one of very few companies to do today, especially in the automotive space.
So, of course, you are looking for partners. And where are you in terms of funding? I think there will be a funding coming up in the following month.
Yeah. So last December, we basically closed a small angel round. We thank our very first and early investors in joining us, and we are actually funded also by the United States National Science Foundation. We were very honored to be awarded the SBIR Phase 2, and the upcoming in the upcoming quarter, we're basically planning to do a price round with traditional and institutional venture capitalists and, of course, strategic VCs as well. So in the interim, basically, we're just trying to gather more use cases, understand more customer needs, and basically really solidify what it is that automakers want, because every automaker has a different set of requirements with this modality, with this sensor technology. Yeah.
Have you already signed with some automakers, or is it too early?
No, so we have we have agreements in place with evaluation agreements, I would say, with a leading US EV OEM, and we do have a statement of work signed with a major automotive tier 1, as well as agreements with other automotive tier 1. So most of them have been tier 1s that we have worked with. And this is pretty much keeping us very, very busy right now, as you can imagine. So right now, the way it works is we are going through an evaluation phase, the feasibility phase, and we hope to basically conclude this sometime in the mid of this year, which is fast approaching for us. And beyond that, it would basically be a more defined scope of activities and scope of work with these, OEMs or tier 1s, whoever they are.
Well, thanks a lot, Hossain, for accepting my invitation. I know you're taking a few days off with your family and you took time to be part of the show. Thanks a lot for that.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And congratulations. Thank you. And congratulations again on your award at the Grand Prix ACF. And we wish a lot of luck to Serinus Labs. And no doubt it will be a great success in the coming years.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Stephanie.
Thank you, everyone, for following. And we'll talk about lithium on Thursday with another winner of the Grand Prix ACF, Geolith. And I'll tell you more about it next Thursday. Thanks a lot for following. Bye-bye.